Hey guys, what's up? I just want to start off this video by giving an official trigger warning. Anybody who has witnessed something traumatic or has been exposed to something against their will, this could be triggering for you. I'm going to keep it as generic as possible. But also, I thought it was important that I get this out there, and not just to like release it out of me, but just to kind of share the experience and share the aftermath. But anyway, getting into it, this is probably NSFW for younger viewers, and again, a trigger warning, seriously. So Friday, I woke up at my normal time and went to the gym. It was Friday, so I think a lot of people give themselves a break on Friday and don't go. So the gym was not busy at all at 5 a.m. It was myself and another lady, and she was on the treadmill next to me. And, you know, when you're in the gym, there's very chatty people, and then there's people like me who, you know, typically I put in my earbuds and I either listen to music or I listen to a book on tape, something like that. And at that particular moment, I was listening to a Stephen King novel, which is not my usual fare, but that's okay. So I was pretty intensely listening, and I happened to glance up, and at this point, it was still dark outside. A little bit of light coming in from the courtyard where our fitness center is, on the outside of an office building surrounded by windows, and they're tinted, but they're not mirrored, so anybody can see in at any time of the day, and we can see out at any time of the day. And I just happened to catch something out of the corner of my eye, and didn't see it again when I looked, and then, you know, got back to walking and trying to get my heart rate up, and again caught something out of the corner of my eye and looked over, and this time it was a man. I won't get into physical details or anything like that, what he looked like, but it was obvious that he knew he was not supposed to be there. And it was obvious that he was watching me, and yeah, it was a little disconcerting at first. I wasn't really sure what was happening at that point, and this is the trigger, guys. He did put his hands down the front of his shorts and proceeded to do what you would think a man would do, and the woman next to me was, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And it took me just a quick second to kind of process what was happening. And at that point, he was fully exposed. And I was just so stunned, but I also was alarmed, obviously. So I got off the treadmill, and by doing so, I pulled the clip that shuts it off immediately in case of an emergency, and went to the front desk at my fitness center, and there was nobody there. So I proceeded to go out the double doors. I'm still in the building, to our building security, and to let them know, and there was no one there. At this point, I was getting more and more frantic because I didn't know whether this guy had entrance into the building. We have swipe cards, we have, you know, codes and things like that, but I don't, you know, I wasn't certain of who this person was. At that point, I wasn't going to leave the building, so I turned back around and tried to go back to the fitness center, but I didn't have my swipe card because it was in my locker. I'd already swiped in. Why would I need it? And being more concerned because I had left that woman alone in there, and there apparently seemed to be nobody on duty at the fitness center or anybody who cared. I started pounding on the door, and as I was pounding, I got more upset. But finally, one of the trainers came out and let me in, and I explained what was going on, and it was a male. He grabbed another trainer, and they went out through the double doors and then out through the double doors of the building itself, and this person had left. At this point, I went back to my area, the treadmill where I was, and the woman that had been next to me was sitting on the end of the treadmill talking to another trainer about what she'd seen and, you know, what had happened after I left, which, you know, was her story to tell, but was very traumatic, and just that kind of thing. Because I work for Washington University, we have our own police department, and because the building where I was is WashU property, they wanted to go that route. They wanted to go the route of me filing a report through Washington University Police Department. And at that point, I was upset. I was anxious. I was worried. I didn't know, like, if this guy had been stalking me or just happened upon us or what had happened. But it was scary. It was upsetting. It was just so many things. But because the incident was not what was considered an emergency or anything like that, I didn't get to talk to a police officer until about 2 hours later. And by that point, I had called my husband, and I was extremely upset when I talked to him. I'm surprised he could understand me. I had alerted the security that's in charge of our whole area, which is not Washington University Police. And I felt like the more questions that were asked, the more upset I became. And not upset over the fact that I had to tell these things, but like almost embarrassed, almost like, why me? Like, what did I do? Why am I being subjected to this? Why, I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed to have to relay these things. I'm embarrassed to have to talk about it and say these words and, tell all these people and give description after description after description. And it got to the point where I was ashamed, and I thought, as I was trying to process it, that, why am I ashamed? Why am I embarrassed? What did I do? And the whole point of it was to relay this on. I don't know if this guy's done this before. I don't know if he's going to be back on Monday. I will most likely not be using a treadmill by the window again, but I will be leery of who's around me. But I guess more than anything, I was just upset at myself over being embarrassed and being like ashamed of what had happened, because I didn't do anything. I was exercising, and it was that I've heard like assault victims and victims of violent crimes and things like that refer to this, the victim guilt and what did I do to bring this on, and almost the shame that they were attacked or they were beat up or any of those. And for the first time, I kind of understand it. I'm feeling that feeling of I don't really want to talk about it anymore, and yet I know I'm going to have to, and I don't understand why I feel embarrassed about it, because I didn't do anything, and it just worries me. It worries me, like, I have a degree in psychology. I work or have worked with domestic abuse survivors and things like that, and I understand the psychology behind it. I understand why I feel the way I do. I feel like that should give me the ability to be able to like shake it off and just you know, these are normal feelings, just move on. And I haven't been able to. I've been, you know, I've a couple, I confided in a couple friends, and of course my husband, and they're like, how are you doing? And more and more it's like, I'm okay, you know, and even to the point of being able to kind of joke a little bit about it, but not really. But 100% truth, honesty, I'm scared about going back to the gym tomorrow. And I'm scared that I'm going to have to answer more questions about this guy and his appearance and all of that stuff. And I don't want to be, I don't want to be worried for my safety. I don't want to be ashamed of something that I didn't do. Some other sicko's actions have caused me to be embarrassed and caused me this grief in my life. And I don't think that's fair. I don't think it's fair, and I want to work against that. And I guess my advice to anybody is don't let it get to this point in your own mind. Like, I should have right away stopped letting myself feel guilty or embarrassed. I ended up having to talk to my boss about it on Friday, and he's a male, and just describing it, I felt shame. I was red in the face, and he happens to be a doctor. So, I mean, it makes no sense that using, you know, common terms and whatnot was nothing. But it just, I want to get past this. I'm not a victim. I'm not someone who is going to allow fear or shame or any of that stuff happen to me. I do also want to say that I know that there are people out there who have gone through much, much worse than this. There are people out there who have been exposed to many, many, many different things. And this may not seem like that big of a deal in the big scheme of things, but to me, apparently, it was more than I thought it was at the time. And I'm going to put it out of my mind. I'm going to stay busy. I'm going to plan out my day and for tomorrow, you know, pack up my bag, my gym bag, go, make sure that I'm not at a treadmill by the window, and go forward from there. Release this embarrassment and shame that I'm feeling, and continue on this fitness journey that I've been on. The good thing that's come from this is they are reviewing their security policies. There should always be someone at the front desk at the fitness center. There should always be a security guard at the desk. And the fact that both of those were absent, I think that's if there's something good to come from this, I think that will be it. Kind of the scarier part of this was when I jumped off the treadmill, and the treadmill alerts when you pull the plug like that. Nobody was there. Like, what if that had been like me having a heart attack, or, you know, me just having fallen off? It's almost happened before when I've been, you know, really into a book and I stop or something, you know, and I'll all of a sudden feel myself falling off. What if that had been a health emergency and the treadmill alerted and there was nobody at the desk to come and see what was going on? So I think if anything, if there's something good to come from this story, it's that. They're reviewing their security policies. They are reviewing, you know, why somebody wasn't there. They are reviewing, you know, a bunch of different things. So I think as part of that larger conversation, hopefully this will not happen to anybody else. Hopefully this makes me a stronger person in the long run and more able to talk about things and not feel embarrassed for things that are not my fault. I want to, if you've stuck with me this long through this kind of odd story time, challenge all of us, especially the women, to be strong and not allow ourselves to be shamed or ashamed when things happen to us that are not our fault. I didn't ask for this to happen, and I certainly did not expect this to happen. I just really wanted to share it so that there's a lesson to be learned in this, in the fact that I kind of put my head down and didn't want to talk about it anymore, and that's, to me, acting like it's my fault, and it's not. It's literally not. It's something that's going to make me stronger. And here I am, you know, almost in tears about it again, but I'm going to learn from it. I'm going to grow from it. I'm not going to allow myself to be ashamed. I'm going to take it and own it and recognize that it can be used, this experience can be used for something good. And that could be the security being revamped. That could be them putting mirrored windows up. That, I don't know. I don't want to speak for that. I just want to speak for myself. And the fact that I am going to be stronger for it. I'm not going to take a victim mentality anymore. And I think that's it. I appreciate you listening, and yeah, I hope that everybody is doing well, and just a reminder to be kind to each other, always. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.